Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm Jess Tomlinson, your Radiant Self-Care Coach, and I'm here with my amazing boyfriend, who might be regretting that he signed up for this, but pretty awesome that he did. This is Harnik, everyone, and I'll give him a chance to introduce himself in a sec. But first, thanks for being with us. I personally am very, very excited for this webinar, Insider Info, how to receive unconditional love and self-care support from a man so that you can travel, fulfill your dreams, and have it all. Doesn't that sound awesome? I know it does for me, and I'm definitely a testament that when you do have support from an amazing man, right?
Yep.
that anything is possible. So this webinar, we're really excited to jump in and share with you some of the things that have worked for us personally. This is just all about us sharing. We are not exactly experts in love, but we think we've figured out something pretty amazing when it comes to partnership. And so I know, me personally, I'm very excited that Harnik agreed to be here with me. So thank you, babe.
No worries. No worries.
All right. Well, if you haven't already, be sure to introduce yourself in the chat box. I see Pamela said, hi, I'm Pam. And let us know, where you live, where are you coming from. Don't be shy. I'm going to check the attendee list, and I see that there's lots of people that are jumping in. Very cool. Welcome, guys. Or shall I say ladies. For any of you, by the way, who got your men to join in on this webinar, kudos. That's pretty amazing if you did do that. So we have a full webinar for you today. We will probably go with enough content for an entire hour, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So that's kind of really the part where you guys get the opportunity to ask. You probably don't care about me in this webinar. You really came to see this guy. So get to ask him any questions that you might have about men, about your own personal situations, and we'll do our best to really kind of come up with answers from what we've experienced. Like I said, we're no experts, but we've definitely figured something amazing out in our relationship. And we're pretty new, so we'll tell our story as well. So you're gonna wanna hang on until the very end. Also in this webinar, I'm going to share a little bit about my retreat that I am doing to Bali. So I am taking 8 fabulous women to Bali with me, and there are still a few spots left, only a few, but they might have your name on it. So you're going to want to hang on and learn a little bit more about how you can potentially receive the support, whether it's from yourself if you're single, or if you are in a partnership, a marriage or a relationship that you both work together to financially provide for each other, that you can have that confidence to have the conversation with your guy and feel really good about making a big decision like a trip. So the main reason, just to give you guys a little bit of background information on why Harnik technically volunteered to do this webinar with me, but he doesn't remember that. He doesn't remember that.
No, I don't remember that.
I keep reminding him he volunteered, but why he...
No, I did.
You did, right? Yeah. So when he volunteered, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And the main reason is because so many of the women who I've been talking to about my Bali retreat have a deep longing to receive unconditional love in their life. And so this conversation keeps coming up again and again for us as women, no matter if we're in an amazing relationship already, like I am with Harnik, or if you are just longing to attract that perfect partner into your life. We all desire greater partnership and love. So that is our intention, I think, is to really communicate that. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. You're so agreeable.
No, I'm not.
All right. So no, I'm not. Let's take a look at some of you that are saying hello. Hello, Jennifer, who lives in Las Vegas. Hi, Jennifer. I live in LA. Oh, Jennifer, I didn't think you're going to be able to make it. But in Vegas this weekend, so excited to spend time with my family. Yay. Awesome. Welcome. So anybody else who hasn't chimed in, feel free. We're not scary. I promise we won't bite hard.
No, not yet anyway.
Not yet. All right, so let's jump into this topic that is so important. And I think really to kick us off, it's probably important for you to know, like, who the heck are these two and why are they talking about relationships? So I'll start by saying that I met this amazing man. We met each other under kind of funny, like perfect divine timing circumstances. It was New Year's Eve, and I was supposed to be with my best friend and my goddaughter, her daughter, and then her and her husband got sick, and so I was feeling kind of sad about, being alone. Posted to the women's group that I lead here in Las Vegas, our personal Facebook group, our private Facebook group, and said, okay, what's everybody doing? Because I'm feeling kind of sad here on New Year's Eve alone. And one of them invited me to go to a gong meditation at a yoga studio that's like really close to my house. And I was like, great, I get to go with no bra, no makeup, looking like a hot mess, all missy-matchy. Are you going to say something?
Yeah, I can do. I was working in Las Vegas at the time, and I was meant to actually be up in Seattle for New Year's Eve to see my friend from England, but that didn't work out. So I found this yoga kind of meditation New Year's Eve workshop. Same with Jess, I rocked up, no makeup, no bra, looking like a hot mess. And
that's what I thought you were going to say, but I did look like a hot mess.
Oh, maybe. And it just worked out.
Yeah, and what's funny, you guys, is I'm from Seattle, so to find out that he was supposed to be in Seattle, it was just ironic, right? So yeah, he was basically talking to one of my friends for like 30 minutes, and I didn't have any interest in him, but I wanted to talk to my friend.
Thank you.
Not at that time.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk to my friend, and so I butt in, and then lo and behold, heard Harnik and his sexy accent and fell immediately in love. Just kidding. I really didn't actually. I was interested because he's so sweet, as you guys can tell, like just a really sweet, nice guy. And like when he was looking at me, I could tell like, whoa, I had this moment of he actually sees me and like he's hearing me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then he asked if I fancied a cup of tea, which is kind of hilarious. I loved that comment. And most importantly, you guys should know this, we connected over Peru. And for those of you who follow me know that Peru was the life-changing women's retreat that I went on a year ago that just keeps giving and giving and giving back to me and creating magic in my life. And so when we talk about this women's retreat that I'm leading to Bali, the Radiance Recharge, it's like, wow, what could a retreat do for you? What could a women's retreat specifically that is very like sacred and focused on your feminine and flowing and just releasing and getting out of your normal atmosphere, like what could that do for you? It might find you a beautiful man like I found myself. So cheers to that. We have our little mimosas here to make things fun.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yay. I told Harnik that I had mimosas for us, and he's like, let's get wasted before we go on, and then would you say have a loose tongue?
Yeah, you're trying to ply me with alcohol, that's what I said.
All right, so that's a little bit about our story. Did I leave anything out that you think is important?
Not for now.
Okay.
Really good.
And here we are. We pretty much started dating immediately ish after that. Harnik was here in Las Vegas working on a project out at Lake Mead. You want to tell them what you do?
Oh, I design tunnels for a living. So yeah, back in London, I was working on a few projects, and my company had an open in San Francisco. So I'm based in San Francisco. And then I had about 2 months in Vegas to close out the Lake Mead project, which is essentially providing more water to the reservoir, or allows you to get more water out of the reservoir as the water level drops. So I was finishing up the project for that, and I was in my final think, week.
Yeah, it was your
week.
last week. He'd been here for what, 2 months in Las Vegas? Yeah. Thank goodness I met him, guys, before he left. So, and here we are, and it's been a bit rough, which I think is another testament to the success of our relationship, because he does live in San Francisco and right now is actually in Miami. So, anyways, I'm excited to jump in and give you guys a little bit more of kind of some insight on what we found works in our relationship for men really supporting their women. And I know when I brought this up to the women's group that I lead here in Las Vegas, they're like, oh my God, that's such a cool idea. Like, yes, we want to hear from Harnik. And they already came up with all these questions. And the main one that they really came up with was, there was 2. So the first one I'll ease into kind of the conversation so that you guys get some tips around how men in your life or potential men who might come into your life can support you in your self-care. The first question was like, well, has Harnik always been like this? Has he always been supportive to women in their self-care? And it's kind of funny because I know his background, and I said, okay, are you willing to share this? And he was like, yeah, I actually think I am. So do you want to maybe share with them a little bit about like your journey and just kind of how you've come to this point of really being able to be the masculine support that I've been lucky to receive?
Well, I guess the journey started a while ago. Yeah, it's just all about doing a lot of inner work. Back in London, I was running around being Jack the Lad.
Jack the Lad was something.
Just a guy running around and doing what guys do, I guess, in the broadest sense. And just like sleeping with different women and just like being selfish when it came to relationships and stuff. And I found the strange thing is that when I was being a bastard, so to speak, I seemed to attract more women, which is very strange. And then I kind of switched to kind of working on my inner self and being more respectful and doing my thing, and that kind of dropped off a little bit in terms of like the amount of women I was seeing. But it was kind of a journey for doing a lot of inner work. Like I went and spent a couple of months in India doing a yoga teacher training course, and just I kind of came to San Francisco and decided, okay, I want to find a really special woman. But instead of trying to chase after all these different women, I'm just going to do my own thing and work on my own garden. And if I'm not going to find a woman for a long time, it shouldn't matter in a sense, because I'm doing all these things and working on myself and enjoying my life to the fullest extent. I shouldn't notice too much. And I was beginning to think that as a load of like bollocks, really, like a load of bullshit, because it was like, oh, what's going on? I'm not looking, But he was
really looking.
Yeah, this kind of thing. And then I came to Vegas and I really spent a lot of time working even further, like doing a lot of yoga and meditation lessons, a lot of like circus lessons to work on my body, but also I spent a lot of time out in nature. Like Las Vegas has got a lot of national parks. In about 8 weeks, I've been to like 10 different national parks and recreation areas, and even spent Christmas on my own in Bryce Canyon, like completely on my own. I haven't ever spent Christmas away from home and just really walking along trails, not like seeing only one pair of people for about 6 hours on a whole trail in the snow. And it's kind of, that brings up a lot of stuff, and it kind of washes the inner crap away. And then I don't know, so that's kind of my story. And then I met Jess at the end of that, and she's been through a similar thing. But my point is, on that rambling story, is that it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It's something to work at. You can't, it's like a really dirty pan. You can't just kind of rinse it under the tap and say, oh, that's good. It's like caked with a lot of crap, and you kind of need to soak it through. And
So what would you say, because I think this is really relevant, you know, for men and women. So for the women on this call, you know, Harnik did a lot of inner work to get to the place that it's self-love, right? Like you fall in love with yourself when you do this inner work and you kind of just focus on you. And that's exactly what I teach is the radiant self-care and self-love, and how can you give to yourself what you potentially want in a partner. It's like, be that partner. And we noticed that we both have done that. So I've done a lot of inner work on myself and continue to do it. The journey is never over. But you know, I went to Peru. I started my own business. I still work a full-time job, and so I'm investing my energy and my passion there. But really, like meditating and spending more time alone, not feeling like I have to be part of every single social activity. And I used to be on all these different boards and committees. But really just giving myself that breathing room. And what we noticed is we both have done that, and then we've come together. So I guess my question for you on that journey would be, like, for women who are longing for a man who's in your position, like what might be some of those warning signs that you think, you know, being a man, that they could look out for if they are searching and starting to date somebody that maybe might not be on this path that you're on? What do you think are some of those things that they should, like, if they see it, like, run?
Ooh, that's a big one. One of them's maybe like how they relate to other women, I guess, is kind of, do they have female friends, or do they have a sister, or just kind of how do they speak of other women and treat different women?
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's kind of, because if they're not treating, like, could just be even a waitress in the bar or like at a restaurant, if they're kind of speaking ill of other people just for being in that certain way. I mean, they might be nice to you on those first few dates, but when the novelty wears off, are they still going to be nice to you? So maybe that's if you're meeting a new guy. I think maybe like you need a healthy time. A guy needs to have a healthy amount of time, like being on his own as well, which I never really stared me into the face until like a few months ago, like till the last 6 months, is kind of how important that is. So maybe if a guy hasn't got any kind of activity where he spends on his own, like, and computer games don't count.
I was just telling him I dated this guy off Plenty of Fish when I first got back from Peru, and he was like a gamer, and that's all he did. And it was just like I couldn't relate to him. And so I think that's a good point, babe. It's like you both have to have your separate lives and have your own interests and have your own activities. And so I know you guys have probably heard this a bazillion times, but I think it's worth saying again. It's like when two people come together, you don't make a whole, you make two people. And I love something that you said too. I think I posted something on Facebook, and you said, you know, like the person that you were when I met you is like, that's the person I fell in love with. So like, you shouldn't have to change.
Oh yeah, that is it. When you start to enter a relationship, you can't. Yeah, you should remember who you were to begin with, because that's the person you fell in love with. So if you had all these interesting kind of things that you did, okay, you might not be able to do every single different one because now you have less time, but you should still kind of keep up the things that made you happy before, because you start to, that's part of your identity. Activities and hobbies may change, but the fact that you go out and you pursue different interests, or you like doing certain things, you shouldn't shut them all off, I guess. Yeah. And I've had to say that to her, to Jess, like, for certain boundaries. It's like in the morning when we first started dating, she'd text me in the morning and say hello. And I do that for a few days, or like the first, like, maybe a week or two, and I just told Jess, like, I spend half an hour, 45 minutes in the morning doing my yoga and meditation. I kind of have my morning routine, and if that
self-care,
if that gets thrown out of kilter, my whole day's wrecked. So like, I do care about you and love you deeply, but you know, I can't destroy my whole day and my whole week, because then I'm not going to be a desirable person anyway.
Right. And I would say for women, like, to keep that in mind, like, that's a good point, is if your guy sets the boundary, because in general, men are better at setting boundaries than women. And I noticed this with Harnik right away. He would give me the permission to set a boundary. He'd say, like, you know, hey, would you like to do this? But it's totally okay if you don't. And so it was like him giving me permission to set my own boundary. But I think, and I'd love your opinion on this, like, when men do set those boundaries, as women, like, don't take it personally. It's just their needs, right?
Yeah, you just need that time. It's not a personal offense to you. Or I tell Jess, like, texting during work, it's like, we have a little chat and then it's like, all right, now I need to do my work. I can't dick about the stuff I need to do. I do love you, but there's no way I can physically do what I'm doing. Yeah.
So let's say, like, so not all men would come at boundaries in the gentle way that you've come at them with me, which I appreciate, by the way. So let's just say, like, for the women listening in, that the men in their lives just kind of set a boundary, but don't say the opposite side. Like, I love you and this is what I need. So, like, I always feel loved when you set a boundary. What if the women on this webinar don't receive that kind of loving boundary from their men? Like, what would be your suggestion to communicate to them that they're maybe feeling a little bit like they're being brushed off?
I'm not sure about that one. So could you rephrase the question again? So
like, if the men are just not being very loving in their boundaries. So take, for example, when you told me that you wanted your time in the morning, that you appreciated that I didn't text you first thing in the morning because you wanted to do your yoga.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say to women who are maybe not receiving that loving kind of boundary from a man, but they're feeling hurt about it? How could they approach the situation?
Okay, a better way to do it would not be, I know it might be difficult, but don't respond with anger. So when you kind of cool down, instead of saying, I hated it when you did that, just say, come from a place of coaching, like, say, if you need a boundary set or you need your time, could you please tell me like this or like that? And then I'll completely understand. Because I think the worst way to respond would be from a place of hurt or an anger, like, I hate you for saying this to me, or kind of losing your rag. So, and I think that's
which we've all done.
Yeah,
I know I've done it.
And it's understandable to do. If someone hurts you or you feel kind of ticked off, that's a natural response, is to get angry with the person and lash out backwards. So,
but for them to say, it really hurt me when you did this. Could you please, next time, it would feel better for you to say it in this way.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, good. Ladies, write that down.
And follow up with some affection, so you're not just kind of...
Oh, like a kiss or a hug? Or...
Yeah, okay. just to kind of like dampen the force, because a lot of guys don't like receiving criticism. Mm-hmm. It's not to say that we shouldn't get it. It's healthy to get criticism and kind of grow, but the natural response is, what's this person telling me? And I get angry with that.
Well, just to be vulnerable, I said something horrible to Harnik, which I won't tell you guys what it was, but it was really horrible in the beginning of our relationship. I know you still remember. And then as soon as I said it, I knew it was wrong and hurtful, and I could tell in his eyes that it was hurtful, but he wouldn't admit that it was hurtful. It was like very like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. So I think even women taking responsibility, would you agree, for like, if they do say something hurtful and then like that opened up, well, you tell me, did it open up the way for you to be able to express that it was hurtful? And I remember you asking me like, yes, it was, but could you be a little bit more, would you say? Tactful next time.
Yeah. So it's okay if something does bother you. It's fine to express that, but it's a way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
So don't hold something inside and let yourself get bitter, because that's not good for you and it's not good for the relationship, and it'll come out in anger at some stage. It might be a long time if like you're a patient person, but it will come out. Or like in passive aggressive behavior, you might, I don't know, do some horrible things. But yeah.
Okay, good. So let's just do a quick check-in. In the chat box, first of all, will you guys acknowledge if you've ever said anything horrible to a man? Because I feel really like alone right now. So if you would just, you can share in the chat box if you feel like you want to share what you've said, or you can just say yes. Just if you have said anything that you regret to a man, just feel free to type it in and let me know that I'm not alone. That would be really awesome. This is all about like us growing and receiving the support of a man as well. But it's definitely a two-way street. So
yep.
I'm going to take a sip.
Can everyone hear me clearly as well? Because I'm not sure of my accent or how quietly I'm talking.
What's he saying? All right. So as you guys type into the chat box, if you're brave enough to do so, also let us know if you can hear Harnik with his crazy British accent that I try to do and I still have not mastered, by the way. But it's really cute because he says things like crisps. Crisps are chips. All right, so let's move on. Talking more about boundaries, I think that there's something here in that. So what I know has been really hard for me as a woman was like, I'm afraid of being a bitch. Like, I'm afraid that if I say, here's my needs, that I'm going to come across as like either demanding or, you know, you're not going to love me anymore. What would you say to those women that are having those kind of feelings, but want to make a request of their man that might seem a little bit like a lot? So maybe it's, you know, like I want to, well, first let's start with something small. Let's start with something small. Like, I'd really love for you to tell me I love you more. Like, what is a way that I as a woman could approach that with men, with you?
What, you want me to tell
like
you
how
that I love you more?
Yeah, no, yes.
Okay.
First I want to say thanks, Jennifer. She said yeses have definitely been there, Jess. Thank you. I said something really horrible. Like, I would not even say it on this webinar. So.
Well, I'm going to say something controversial first.
Okay, go.
Along that subject, you got to be sure he does. Don't. But I mean, you can't force someone to say that they love you if they don't love you.
Okay. So
Assuming he does love you.
Right. Like, let's pretend like you've been in a relationship for a long time. Maybe he doesn't love you anymore. But if I, as a woman, am desiring for my man to tell me that that he loves me more, what is a way that I could approach that? In a way that feels good to you.
Maybe explain to him how it makes you feel when he tells you he loves you. So he can see there's a reason for doing it, then just say, I want you to tell me you love me, and then just leave it at that. Because then if, I don't know, I've got a logical engineer's mind, and I think a lot of guys operate more in logic. If you kind of, there's a reason for something, and that reason is explained, then it makes sense. If it just comes out of the blue and not explained, then it's like, what's going on here? It's like this is a general principle. So yeah, explain why a little bit. That would be good.
Yeah. So first time I acknowledge. Oh, good. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, I've been very hurtful in the past, especially coming from a past of negativity and no positive support. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, so then I think this is really good advice. I could say, you know, hey babe, I've just been feeling like I would really love for you to say I love you more, because it just makes me feel so good inside, and I feel like I can do anything when you say you love me. And just knowing that you love and support me makes me feel on top of the world. And I just really appreciate that you can do that for me through your words. And I would love to hear it more. I've been noticing that you haven't been saying it as much. Would you be willing to do that for me? Is that a good way?
Yeah, that's an excellent way.
Okay.
Because it's non-confrontational and there's no blame in there, or kind of you're coming from a place of love. What the opposite way would be, why won't you say that you don't love me? Like, and
you never say you love me anymore.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
I feel like I've said that
kind of thing. Like, don't you love me? That'd be you're saying the same thing. You know, you're trying to get the same result, but it's placed very differently, and it doesn't make the guy feel good because he feels like you've done wrong, and you're coming from a place of hate, and then you thinking that up why is winding yourself up. It's like, why isn't he telling me he loves me? Kind of thing. So it works on two different levels, and that's a kind of route that you don't want to go down.
And don't you think, I mean, we were talking about the Mars and Venus books. If you guys haven't read those, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. There's several different books. There's the original, then there's Mars and Venus in the Bedroom, Mars and Venus, When Mars and Venus Collide, which is actually my favorite one because it's all about conflict and how men and women deal with conflict differently. But one thing I remember from that book is that like men and the nagging, right? Like it's like nag. Like as women, we tend to do that, and we think we're being okay, and we think that like intuitively, like they're getting what we're trying to say, but we're kind of like just going in circles and like nagging at them. So I know that was something important for you when we were talking about this webinar to kind of mention. So how do you feel that when women nag, and maybe even what is nagging, and what does that do when it impacts the relationship for a man?
Probably the best way would be, if you're nagging, I would say that's coming from a place of negativity, and it kind of ties into the last point of like, why aren't you putting up the shelves? Just put up the shelves kind of thing. And if you kind of come from a place of like coaching, maybe.
Yeah, you
like,
keep mentioning that. Tell me more
coaching,
about that.
Okay, so maybe not the shelves example isn't good, but say in there of the bedroom, if you kind of, your lover's not satisfying you, and you not, maybe not a lot of women actually tell their lover, but if you tell him he's not doing something good, or that's bad, or this is horrible, that's, you know, it's not really encouraging. But instead, if you could switch it and just tell him what he could do right instead, in a nice way, as opposed, and then that's kind of a lot more constructive rather than telling somebody off or not doing something up.
Yeah. So
something, yeah.
Are you guys kind of sensing like the underlying theme here is that, at least if I can summarize, is that men, I know what I was going to say about the Mars and Venus books, like men really just want to make their women happy. Would you say that's true?
True.
Like they really just want to make us happy. So what happens when we nag is that they're like, I'm not making her happy. And then it's kind of like this, like, well, if I'm not making her happy, I'm never going to make her happy. And I know I've had this in previous relationships where they've said that I'm a nag and that I'm hard to please. I hope I've come a little bit of a long way. But he's looking at me like, I know I still have a lot of work. But are you guys seeing where when you come from a place of love and just like compassion and communicating and treating your lover like they're not doing anything wrong? Because we are separate people, right? Like when we start to set expectations of like, well, why isn't he making me happy? Well, that's not his responsibility, but that is his desire. So when you make yourself happy and then make requests in a loving manner, I think men are more likely to be on your side and support your self-care. So Jennifer said, recently heard a motivational speaker give a great way of communicating with a significant other. An example, he asked his wife after a vacation, how well am I serving you on a scale of 1 to 10? Wife said 5, so he followed up with what would make it a 10. Yes, I love this, and creates a positive way to communicate and not nag. Yes, I actually do that in my coaching. So with women, when I say, you know, how committed are you to yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 when we're talking about self-care? And they say a 7. I say the exact same thing, Jennifer. I say, you know, what would make it a 10? And I think that's great. What do you think of that?
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. All right, so.
Was there any other comments below that? Because it's kind of
No, just say yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, the comment box kind of goes away kind of fast, guys. So we'll do our best to keep up with that. All right, so maybe let's go a little bit deeper into you're making requests that maybe don't feel small, right? Like I want you to say you love me more, or I wish we could improve in the bedroom. So those are requests that are smaller but still feel big. What about if we take it to the next level? And I know this was a huge question from the women in my women's group that I lead. It's like, okay, what if I want to do something really big and I want to bring this to my partner, like travel to Bali, right? Like go on this retreat to Bali and really nourish myself. And like, how do you get your guy, you know, maybe even finances aside, because really it's not about the money, right? We just said like men want to see their women happy. And yes, that plays a part. But what I've noticed, and I'd love your opinion on this, is if you're not excited about something, like they won't be either for men. How do you feel about that? Like if I'm coming to you and I'm like, maybe it's even like a big trip that I want us to take together, right? This is a little bit different with the women's retreat because you'd be going on your own. But let's just say like there's a trip that I want us to take together, like a cruise or something. Like, and I come to you and I'm like, hey, Harnik, like there's this really cool cruise that I read about, and I don't know, like maybe it might be okay, maybe if we go together. Like if I come at you like that,
it's not a good.
What does that do?
Yeah, it doesn't inspire me with confidence, and it doesn't seem like it's actually a great thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll just start to question like the cost of it, and it's kind of like, well, if you're not even that bothered about it, is it worth it?
Right. Okay. So do you guys see how like that's how men think, right? And because they do want to support us, it's like the minute that they sense like the hesitation, and I talk to the women who have had partners about Bali and coach them on this specific area that you need to be solid in your yes first and foremost. And by doing that and coming to your partner with enthusiasm and like passion, and you have all, you know, the details, and like you just really want this, and maybe even lacing in like what it would mean. Do you think it's worth it to incorporate what it would mean for him if she goes on this retreat? What do you feel about that?
Maybe, yeah, if it's genuine. Like don't come up with some kind of far-flung like reason that doesn't stand up. But if you just want to go in it, you just want to go, and if it means a lot to you and your guy's supportive, that's cool. Even if he's not getting anything directly back from it.
So again, like
but then
you guys just want to support us, you want to see us happy.
Yeah, you might have like a little bit of trouble if the guy's not supportive. I don't know, because people are different.
So what would you say for those difficult men, like that say the woman is very enthusiastic and she goes to her partner and is like, I really want to do this, and he's just like, I don't see that happening for you. What would be your advice on that?
Again, that's a difficult one. I'd say he needs to lighten up and support you more.
Maybe he's not the right man for you. Seriously though, right? I mean,
I don't want to throw anything too crazy out there. But if he's not sure himself, because it's not, he might be concerned too much about money. He does love you, but he's looking at like the money or the time implication or something else. Like he wants to support you, but his no is based on that. Then maybe, I don't know, use that as an opportunity to bring up something that he wants that he might not have considered. So you're taking this really great trip when you're doing some self-work. What will be an equivalent thing for him to do? or something you could do for him. And then kind of, because they might have the opposite thing that's going on with women, or like the mirror image, like the ladies are too worried about approaching their men to ask for this big thing. The guys are in the same boat as well. Like, you know, they might want something, but, you know, I think, oh, she'll just shoot it down or doesn't want to know. So that could be constructive for both of you. Just kind of say, okay, I'm going to get this. Would you like something as well? And what can I do for you to help you in that?
So like giving him permission and support.
Yeah. And he might not have even considered it, so he might need a bit of time to think about it, but then you could suggest stuff or give him time. So that's a good way, I think.
That's great, babe.
Because I've been lucky with Jess, because she just doesn't give a shit. She'll just speak her mind. So it's been easy to communicate, because it's kind of, it's been easy. But I mean,
hey, I was not always like this, you guys. This is from a lot of self-care work.
That's what she says.
It is. I promise. No, I used to be, in all reality, I used to be terrified to speak up. I was afraid of being a bitch. I was afraid that I would just automatically be denied. So instead of taking the risk, because of my nervousness, I would come off as a bitch. It was like, well, what about this? And we think that that's going to get us our way, because that's kind of what we've been taught, right? We've been taught to be masculine. We've been taught as women to be like, push, 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 and this is what I want, and that's what's going to get me something. And yes, that might get you something in corporate workplace. I was going to say corporate America, but it felt funny since you're from the UK sitting here. But in a corporation or a business atmosphere, yes, that might get you something, you know, in the man's world. But in a relationship, that is not going to get you very far. And it's going to give you the opposite effect. So really just tapping into yourself. What do I want, need, and desire? How can I support my man in what he wants, needs, and desires? And
if you both, sorry to cut you off, but if you both get that, then you'll help in your relationship. If you both get in the self-work and that me time, then it benefits both of you, you know.
So why don't we just take a quick moment to, you guys tell us what you're taking away so far. We still have 15 minutes of content, and then we'll have our Q&A where you can ask us any questions after that. But tell us, like, what is this helpful? Are you getting anything from what we're talking about here? Is this resonating? We'd love to hear from you. The next thing that is coming to mind, I just lost it. Oh, I know, it's something that resonated with me when you were talking about like men need time. In the Mars and Venus book, probably my biggest takeaway from that book was the man cave. Have you got to that part yet?
No.
Okay. I gave him the book and he kind of started reading it on one of his trips back from visiting me in Las Vegas. But in that book, my biggest takeaway, because I had a boyfriend at the time that would go back in his office and like just hibernate. And I thought I was doing something wrong because he didn't want to spend time with me. But then I read about the man cave and how men just want their space. They want their time to think. And I'm curious what you think about this, because many times as women, like, we want to talk it out now, right? Like, it's like, I have this thing that I want to talk about and I want to talk to you now. And here's the bullet points and right? And we like go into this like crazy thing. What are your thoughts on that? And what can women do to actually support men in them needing their time to think?
Are you trying to say they need time to consider it, or time to, you trying to think of the right time to actually raise the issues?
Maybe both. I think that'd be interesting to hear your perspective on both. I know what you've done for me, what you've said to me, but I'm curious what can women listening in on this call, when's the right time to approach, and what should they do if their men are like, I need to think about it, and they keep pushing? What should they do?
Give him space, because he probably does need time to think about it. And then don't approach him with something big when he's got lots of balls in the air that he's trying to juggle, because it's just like another kind of load onto the plate. And it's kind of, if you're stressed out and you've got a lot of things to do, adding more things onto the plate might not be the best thing at that moment in time.
So like a weekend that like he's not just come home from work and tired, and
exactly,
like a weekend, maybe like a Sunday when
Yeah, sometimes time might not allow for it because it's whatever you might have to talk to them about. It's got a short fuse on it, but if you can, just try and catch us when we're a bit more chilled out and kind of less stressed out, less in like fight or flight mode, and more kind of in our personal space and just relaxed.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting point because one of the women that I talked to about the Bali retreat, we were reconnecting again. We'd had our first conversation and she was a total yes for the retreat. And then she went back and was supposed to talk to her husband, but really was too scared to kind of ask for the time because he was busy, right? So is there maybe a suggestion that you would have on how can women make a request to have a conversation? Because many times, as you know, we'll just kind of jump in, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel is the best approach to that? Should we make a request? Like, I'd like to talk to you about this. Is now a good time? Is that a good way to do it? Or how would you suggest?
The way I do things at work is it's mainly male dominated, like engineering profession and construction. We've got a big thing to discuss with a boss. I'll send them an email, or we've got like an instant communicator, and I'll say to like a boss, yeah, I fancy a chat. Have you got time? Like, give me a shout when you've got like a spare 10 minutes or 15 minutes, just so you're not like just jumping in and peppering them with something crazy. And then when they've got shit off their plate and they're kind of mentally prepared for it, because they might know you and they might think, okay, she's gonna chat to me about something, and they can kind of get into the mode a little bit. So that's what I use with kind of male bosses to discuss stuff like pay. For example, like I had a bit of a thing with my pay review, and that's been actioned really well, but I didn't just pick up the phone and say like, right, this is what's going on, I think this should happen. Had a chat, found out a decent time to talk, and that was about 20 minutes after I requested a chat, and then had a very constructive conversation and kind of passed that through. But the point was I didn't just jump in and kind of there's something massive and controversial and then start throwing punches. Yeah,
so that's a good point, babe. And I like that actually you brought up business, because in a way, these kind of conversations with your partner that are more loving, full of unconditional support and love for your self-care are kind of like a business arrangement. Do you sometimes feel like that with us? Like it's a little bit like, I mean, it's not the same.
I haven't been paid yet, but
but it's meaning like the conversations, they're emotionally intelligent conversations. If you guys want a good book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, one of my favorite, very practical books on how to have these kind of conversations and to really get in touch with your emotions.
Yeah. Because in the business world, you don't obviously come out of crazy stuff off the bat and not think about what you say in a controlled kind of way. Right. Because that has consequences at work. Like you could get a bad reputation, you could get fired, you could lose a client, etc., etc. But then kind of in a relationship level, maybe people don't pay attention to that. They just kind of whack it out and not kind of think of the little consequences of what they might say just from phrasing things in a different way.
Yeah. So, to bring it home, basically making a request to have a conversation with your man. Like if you are, wanting to go on a retreat like this Bali retreat that I'm doing, and you're having a hard time of like, well, how do I even bring up the conversation with my man? After me and you have a chat, of course, because I wouldn't bring it to him before then. Because again, we want to get clear on, are you a yes for this retreat? Are you a yes for a big trip? Are you in a place where you're ready? And together, that's what happens on our chats. I guide women through this beautiful process. And then when you're clear on your yes, then you're able to come to your partner, make a request for a conversation. Hey, babe, I have something very important that I would like to talk to you about. Is now a good time, or shall we schedule, for later tonight? What works for you? And then from there, coming into the conversation in a very loving manner, in a way of like, look, this is really important to me, being enthusiastic. Here's what it means to me. And I would really appreciate your support in this. Does this feel good, babe?
Yeah.
Okay. So just using these kind of like talking points. And then from there, he can feel empowered to support you or not. And when you're coming from a place of power, he's probably more natural to come from a place where he's supporting you. Would you say that's probably the case?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I think we have a comment from Jennifer. I like the conversation about the man cave, letting him have his space. I also like that putting in requests to talk to one another or have time to spend together. Yes, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Jennifer. Perfect. Okay, so we've given you a little bit leading into, how do you have these difficult conversations with your partner if you want to take a big trip to Bali, or even if you just want to get them to say, I love you more. And I just want to appreciate you, first of all, for all of your input so far.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, keep letting us know, did you take anything away so far? I'm just going to talk for a few minutes and give you guys a little bit more information about this retreat that I'm doing that I'm so excited about. And, some of you might be feeling that calling in your heart, and maybe that's even why you're on this webinar, was to hear more about this travel piece and love. And like I said, the women who are coming on the retreat so far already are big lovers. They're desiring more love in their lives. They're desiring to strengthen their current relationships or attract a new partner. And so we're going to be focusing on that a lot with our radiant self-care of like, how have I attracted this amazing man in my life and just continue to feel supported by him? And how can you do that as well? And so just know that that's going to be a big focus on this retreat. So the Radiance Recharge, I'm going to put up a pop-up so that you guys can see. You should probably see an image right now on the side of your screen that says the Radiance Recharge Women's Retreat in Bali with Jess. So we are departing, me and the women who are coming on this retreat with me in a few weeks. So at the end of April 24th is when the retreat starts, and it goes through May 2nd. And again, this is just a sacred experience for women who are really longing to unplug, to get away, to recharge, to be in this beautiful location of Bali where the people are just glorious, the weather is amazing, the beaches are beautiful, and just give yourself some me time and make an investment in you. That's really one of the most powerful pieces to this retreat, is you getting away, and many times the women who are coming on this retreat doing something for you for the first time. We're so busy as women giving to others, whether it's our partner or work or the kids or whatever kind of your life circumstance. We are natural givers, and it's just as important, if not more important, which is what I teach, to give to ourselves first. Just like Harnik and I had to spend some time, internal work, giving to ourselves. Now our cups are full, and we continuously have to have those conversations to draw boundaries so that we can take me time. And then when we come back together, we're even stronger because we're able to overflow in that recharge with one another. So that's actually another reason, right, for you to give to your partner who can support you in this retreat, is that, guess what, babe? I'm going to go away. I'm going to be so fired up. I'm going to come home and you're going to be so happy about it because I'm going to have some time to myself. And so just putting kind of like more of that perspective of like the benefits for him too. So the Radiance Recharge, what else can I share with you about this retreat? It's going to be beautiful, you guys. It's really going to be an opportunity for those of you who are desiring to connect with women as well. So connecting with yourself, but also connecting with women and receiving the support from a sisterhood circle who, for many times, us as women, we have not received that support. We have broken relationships with women because we've been conditioned as a society that, well, she looks better than I do, or she's more successful than I am. She's my competition. And it's so ludicrous. It's not true. As women, when we come together, it's powerful. Our dreams happen quicker. Our You know, like everything that we want in our life is transformed when we have the support of other women holding us and cradling us. And this is going to be a time at this retreat where you can just break down and just be and have no expectations. And this retreat is a lot different from other Bali retreats. I like to tell people it's not your typical Bali retreat where you're going to be up at 6 a.m. and green juice fasts and, you know, yoga and just like go, go, go and strict schedule. This is completely different where you will have sacred space just flow. And yes, we're going to have a few excursions and activities to sacred temples. You'll have the opportunity to have a personal photo shoot where you'll get to dress up like a goddess. So there's lots of goodies, lots more stuff. If you guys go to that link over on the sidebar and check it out. If you email me at Jessica@jessicatomlinson.com, I can send you a quick application so that you can complete that. And then from there, I'll take a look at your application within 24 hours and get back to you if I feel like you're a fit to have a conversation, and we'll just explore. We'll explore the possibility of you coming to Bali and making this trip a reality in your own life. I'm here to support you in your self-care. So I'm going to, in the chat box, type in my email address. If you're interested in exploring the possibility of going to Bali, email me. So again, just send me a quick email. And I'd be happy to send you over that application so that you can just fill it out. If anything, the application alone is kind of a discovery within yourself and pretty powerful for your own self-care. It's a Bliss plan. So while you're applying, you'll also be kind of creating your own little Bliss plan and looking deeper into your self-care and what you want, need, and desire, and getting more clarity around that. So click on that link. It will take you to an inspirational video that I did about Bali. You'll be able to find more information about the women's retreat. And then if you feel inspired, send me an email. All right. So moving on from Bali, we're now into the portion where you guys can submit your questions for Harnik and I. Don't look so scared, babe. So what questions do you have for us? You know, what are those personal circumstances in your life that are going on, whether you have a man or whether you don't? Maybe it's past things that you've been through that you just kind of would like our support and our advice. Probably more Harniks. My butt hurts, so I'm gonna wait. Sorry, I just pushed your arm.
Nah, it's okay.
So how can us to help you? We are here. We're committed. If conversation goes another half an hour, we've reserved that time. And after that, we're gonna go.
Yep.
Enjoy the beautiful sunshine in Las Vegas. So what questions do you have for us? I think this has been really good so far. What do you think? Oh, you're tired. It's been boring for him.
No, I've been 5.5 hours on a plane last night.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I think at the beginning, like he's been working in Miami, which I actually, if you weekend, I did a webinar on how to take your own Bliss trip from his living room in Miami, where he's living there. And that was a really last minute trip where I was able to just really follow my own intuition around taking that last minute trip. And so I'd encourage you, you know, it's same with Bali, same with me going to Peru. I booked last minute. Peru was only a month away, not even, I think, when I made the decision to go, and I forever am changed. I got a tattoo after going there just because of that trip. I got a beautiful like butterfly transformation tattoo. So I attracted Harnik. Like it's just been crazy. Let go of a past or a current relationship actually when I was in Peru and made space to really attract more love into my life. So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. Come on, guys. I'm so surprised. What questions do you have for us? Let us know. There's still a few of you that are on the webinar, so we are here to support. I'm going to have another sip of mimosas and waiting for you guys. Doesn't want to kiss me on camera. All right. if there are no questions, then I guess we're done. I can't believe you guys didn't have any. Oh, good. We have one question. Yay!
Yay!
Okay, you read it, babe.
Thank you for both creating. This is from Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for both creating this safe space to share so vulnerably and authentically. I've loved listening to both of your perspectives. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yay, we don't feel alone. As you can tell, like I have a thing about feeling alone. My biggest fear is that I'm going to be alone. It's another thing we talked about when we first got together.
Yeah.
What was yours?
Yeah, something similar. And
Yeah.
then I got comfortable being alone.
We face our fears, right? I remember when it was hard for me. I was one of those kids that like had to play with my mom all the time. Like I couldn't be alone. And maybe, you know, if some of you are in that circumstance as adults, you know, just take a look at that, because sometimes our biggest fears are really like the areas in our lives that are calling us to get comfortable with. And when we're able to really tap into those, that kind of like light gets shined on our darkness, if that makes sense. So the dark is only scary if we keep ignoring it, right? Like just gotta turn on the light switch sometimes and really shine a light on our darkness. I've fallen in love, I know, with my darkness, and discovered that a lot when I was in Peru on the women's retreat. So don't be afraid of the dark, and get some support around it, because that's what I've done. I was not able to do this deep inner work without support from other women. So again, the Bali retreat is an opportunity to do that for yourself as well, to make an investment in your self-care so that you can be supported, not only by an amazing man who supports you, but by a circle of women. All right, guys. Well, we've given you a few minutes to ask questions, and we still don't see any. So we must have just answered them all. We're so good that we answered them all. Is your hand in your pants? What are you doing?
Just scratching
his belly. All right, guys. Well, is there any last words that you'd like to share with the ladies? Words of inspiration?
Just work on yourself, really. When in doubt, just spend the time on working to do things that you want to do. And yeah, just keep it up.
Awesome. Oh, weird. I'm inspired. Oh, good. We did get a question. I'm inspired by how authentic and openly you both communicate with each other in such a short amount of time. What do you think enables you to do this? And was it this easy from the moment you met? What's your perspective on that, babe? What enables us to do this?
Yes, we saw that question, Jennifer. We just saw that.
We did. Sorry about that. I know there's a bit of lag between the video, so I will respond. Yeah, we saw the question.
We've seen the question.
Oh, geez. Here goes the grammar. Sorry, video lags. Answering. Okay, so there we go. So what has enabled us to communicate so vulnerably in such a short amount of time? And was it this easy from the moment we met? What would you say?
I think it's probably due to the self-work that we've both been doing and coming from, because some of the stuff Jessica.
We're formal here.
Yeah. Okay. Jess has come out with, I don't think, maybe like a few years ago, would have been scared off by it, or like not being able to handle it, like not being as mature. So I guess it's, again, that self-work, which like spending time on your own, like doing yoga and meditation, spending time being active, just doing like different interests. And like I've got a colouring book which I colour stuff in.
He just bought a mandala book. I don't know if you guys know what mandalas are, but they're like these beautiful kind of like sacred geometry, I would call it.
Yeah, and you just colour it in. So it's like being a kid, but it's quite therapeutic. But just doing loads of different things like that within yourself, and kind of when you're ready, it just helps, that kind of communication.
So do you think that it's been like this since we first met?
I
Like
think
pretty
so.
easy? I think so too. And I think that's actually one of the things that I've realized about a relationship is, first of all, I've always been worried too that I'm gonna scare off men.
And you said that to me a few times.
Yeah, I'm still kind of worried sometimes by the things that I say, but I think because I'm so like, I've done so much work that now I'm so self-aware that I bring it up at least. Whereas before I would stuff it down and then inevitably it would come up in a fight. Yeah. Like you were saying, like it's going to fester if you don't bring it out. So probably my biggest advice too is like, yeah, it's been the self-work and the self-care that I've created for myself to put myself first. And then I didn't hold back for the first time in a relationship with you. I just spoke exactly my truth. I said if I was scared or if I needed something different. I remember the first night that Harnik came over, he did a beautiful sound healing on me with like, he plays the Tibetan bowls. He's pretending like he's not an expert in like this self-work stuff, but he is. And he did like the bowls all along my body and gave me this beautiful sound healing. And we snuggled that night. But the next morning, it was our first, morning together. And I had an event that day. And I was like, okay, the old Jessica would have been like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to not disturb Harnik. I'm just going to suit him. And I'm afraid that if I'm not, if I'm not polite, that, and I don't, what am I trying to say here? I would have been afraid before to take care of my own needs. And that morning, you remember, I was like, nope, I got to get up. I got to get up early. I got to do this. I got to do this for myself because it's important. And so I had to prepare for my event. And the old me would have been very nervous that I would have put him off by that. But how did that make you feel that morning?
I was cool because I know you had it and you'd mentioned it to me before. So I knew that was on the plate.
Okay.
And then I didn't want to mess you up because I knew that was important. I knew that was important to Jess. So by giving her space, I knew I was kind of helping her out, and she appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. And I was very clear. I had to say no. Like, he had said, want to take a shower? And I said, no, I have to get up. And that was scary for me to do. I was really worried because our relationship is brand new. We didn't know if it was going anywhere at that point. But it was brand new, and I had to say no, and I was very scared of that.
But at the same time, I was pretty convinced I could have got you into the shower. But I mean, at the same time, like I didn't push for it.
Yeah, no, you respected me.
I respected her space. That's what.
And that was a deeper love for you because I was like, wow. I remember that day. I was like, he totally supported me and just like giving me my space and what I asked for. And I think that's a key thing, like Jennifer, to your questions, like, yeah, it was easy for us from the beginning, probably because I was being very real and so was he. So don't hold back in your true needs. And the man who's ready for that will rise to the occasion or he'll leave.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true?
True. And also remember what we were saying before about being tactful and phrasing it in a certain way. It's completely fine to be honest with what you want and live that truth. But if you phrase it in a certain way, then that's perfect because then you both understand. If a guy understands, okay, Jennifer needs me to do this, or this is really important to Jennifer, it's not about me, she just needs this thing at the moment, then if he's the right guy, or like even like most guys would just kind of clock and say, okay, that's fine. She's explained that in a really nice way. She still cares about me, and then that's cool. So yeah, be honest with yourself and voice your needs, but do it tactfully. Yeah. And
we're all just human beings. We're human beings with needs for love and care. Any other questions that you guys have? See, we still have the two Jennifers on the call. So if you guys have any more questions, we'll hang on just for a few more seconds and see what comes out of that. This has been really good. I again, like, take these tips that we've given, use them in your future relationships and the man that you want to attract in your current relationships. And don't be afraid to make those big requests and have those conversations with your partner about, do you want to come to Bali? Have those conversations, because life is so short. I cannot not remind myself that enough. Like, life is so short, you guys. We're only here on this planet for, not even 100 years, 90 years if we're lucky. And just imagine if you don't have those kind of conversations, what that is costing you in your life. So Jennifer said, thanks so much. That was great. You're so welcome,
You're
Jennifer.
welcome, Jennifer.
You're so proper. All right, guys. Well, it seems like there's no other questions. Again, if you are interested in exploring the possibility of coming to Bali and really deepening your self-love and deepening your love for your partner or your future partner, attracting that kind of love that you want in your life, and amping up your self-care with the support of me and the other women, please, 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 click on that link. Go to jesstomlinson.com/Bali. Watch the inspirational video, and then email me at jessica@jessicatomlinson.com. I would love to send you an application and get to know you better. So I hope this was helpful again, and I just want to thank you so much, babe, for being on this webinar with me. You're amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from both of us. Harnik was a freaking trooper. So amazing that he came on this call with me. I feel so loved and supported. So yeah. All right, guys, have a beautiful, beautiful day, and I hope to hear from you soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.